Hello, everybody, and welcome to Church at Home with Rachel for Tuesday, the 18th of July. Hope you're having a great day. Today, I'd like to talk about a word that I read recently that I realized has two different connotations to it. And I think about it's got me thinking a lot about words and how we use them in our lives. But this word in particular, for my life, it just sort of makes a lot of sense. The word is unravel. We don't often say we're going to ravel something up. It doesn't sound like something we're going to do on purpose. Even there must be a word because there's unravel as a word. But something I was reading a thesis that one of my parishioners has written, and she's talking about pediatric care um, for children who have neurodegenerative diseases, children who are going to die. And in it, she talked about the unraveling for the families. And I got thinking about that word unravel. Like, things are unraveling. Like, these families, they're dealing with a child who's going to die. They're dealing with the unknowns. They're dealing with like the cost of everything. How do we take care of this child? What about our other children? What about our jobs? They just recognize that everything is unraveling in their lives. Everything is falling apart. It's they're not able to keep up with it. It's just unwieldy, and it's just everything's coming apart. And then later in the thesis, in the topic, she talks about a different kind of unraveling and thinking about when we unravel something on purpose. I think of the number of times that I have tried to knit. I'm not crafty. And I put my ball of wool away, and it's kind of like there are little like mini mice that go in there at night and get it all twisted up, and it's like paper clips. You put them in individually, and the next time you go to pull them out, they're all twisted together. I think there's things that just happen at night. The little paperclip demons come in and hook them all together. Well, when you're sometimes you need to unravel. Like it takes me as long to unravel a ball of wool as it does to actually try to knit one row. So I just don't. But unraveling can be an intentional effort to make something smooth, to sit there and pull things apart and help them to become what they're meant to be. I think of how many times I have spent with things like earphones. I don't know how it happens, but I put them in my pocket, I come out, and they're all tied in knots. Cords, all kinds of cords, all the things that we have, like string things, that we realize somehow they have become all balled up. And then we have to sit and we have to very patiently go through them and take one end and figure out where it is. And it seems like it's taking forever. It seems like it's taking absolutely forever. This is never going to end. And then all of a sudden, one last pull on the string, and it all comes together. It's all exactly the way it should be. It's all unraveled. It takes time, and it takes patience, and it takes perseverance. We have to keep working at it. It's not going to, unlike the way that it ravels itself up seemingly without our help, it will not unravel itself without our help. And I got thinking about that, about the times in our lives when we say we become unraveled. And usually, I think, at least when I use it, that means that things have gone haywire. That I'm at wit's end. I'm pulling my hair out. I can't figure out what to do next. I'm just completely like I am discombobulated. I am completely unraveled. However, there are times when I take the time to say, okay, you're freaked out, you're anxious, you're breathing hard, you have a headache, your stomach is aching, what's going on? And I do that body scan thing. Okay, so do I have a headache? Do I have a stomach ache? Am I hungry? Is my blood sugar okay? Is it too high? Is it too low? Like, you go through all those things. And then I do another scan. It's not like a body scan, it's more like a mind and scheduling scan. Have I forgotten to do something? Is there something I procrastinated, something I've forgotten? So I sit there and think, okay, what has to get done for the rest of today? Have I done all that stuff? Yep, everything I can do is in place. All right. What about tomorrow? What about the next day? Is there something I have to get to somebody? And that helps me to unravel. It helps me to calm down, to do that sort of mental scan that says, what is it that has you so upset until you figure out what it is? Sometimes I think it's kind of like the iceberg in the Titanic. We don't recognize how in need of unraveling we are until we feel like we are unraveled. That makes sense? We don't realize how messed up, how anxious, how tense we've become, how tied up in knots we've become until something happens, until, whether, you get a stomach ache, or you snap at your partner, or, you forget to hand something in school, or you forget to pay a bill, something that isn't the actual problem, but is a symptom of the problem. It's that indicative thing that says, here you go, you just messed up. The thing is, 9 times out of 10, I think we probably don't mess up like me forgetting to pay a bill. It's not because I don't, I'm not good at the banking. I'm very good at the banking. I'm usually very organized. So if I've messed up paying a bill, that usually isn't because it's the bill paying that I've messed up. It's usually because there's so much else rattling around in my brain, raveling itself up in my brain, tying itself in knots, that I'm letting other things fall apart. And it takes that other thing falling apart to make me step back and say, wait a minute, I'm really tense. My shoulders are really knotted tight, and my neck hurts, and I have a stomach ache, and I've got a low-grade pain in the back of my head. What's going on? Sometimes it's as simple as you need to have some water. You're dehydrated, or your sugars are too high, or they're too low. You have to eat something, or you just need to stretch. But lots of times, it's because we've allowed ourselves to become tied up in knots without realizing we're becoming tied up in knots. And that is so easy to do. I do it 18 times a day. I ignore those little parts of me that say, you need to stop and take a rest. You need to drink some water. You might even need to have some coffee. Maybe you need to go to the bathroom. Maybe you need to make that phone call. Maybe you need to pick up that piece of paper that you just put down and finish dealing with it before you take on something else. Something happens that makes me think, okay, wait a minute. And then, okay, take a deep breath. Focus on what's happening. Have you ever heard of those urgent, emergent quadrangles, or those grids? Sort of, if something is important and urgent, something is important and not urgent, something is not important but urgent, and something is not important and not urgent. And sort of doing that, sort of figuring out, okay, is this thing that I'm worried about, is it the thing that I need to do in this moment? So we'll just take, for instance, if your blood sugars are too low. You can be sitting here at your desk and thinking to yourself, okay, I've got to do this, 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 and this, and I've got to do that, that, and that, and I have to eat some lunch. Okay, so I'm going to do this and this and this, and then I'll go have some lunch. And as you're doing this, this, and this, you're realizing you can't think straight. Was that important? Absolutely. Was it more urgent than eating? No. So that goes from important but not urgent. Whereas you're eating something to bring up your blood sugars might be important and urgent. You take care of that important and urgent thing first, and then you're better able then to take care of the important, not urgent, and then the not important but urgent, and the not important, not urgent things. When we do things like that, it helps us to be able to unravel ourselves intentionally so that later we don't become unraveled. I don't know about you, but I've had those days when it's been just hell. Everything's gone wrong. And my husband comes home and I see him and I see a friendly face and I just start to cry because, oh my God, I'm so overwhelmed and I can't do anything and everything's wrong and I'm horrible at my job and I can't do anything right. And then he takes the time to take me and pull apart all the things and the loose ends and everything and unravel me so that I can face whatever it is that was raveled in the first place. But we need to get to that point. We all need to get to the point where we can recognize when we are becoming all raveled up. And instead of becoming unraveled in the bad way, where we just fall apart, we need to take time to unravel ourselves. To slowly sit down and do the work of figuring out which knot do I untie first? Which knot is the most accessible? Let's get rid of that one. And then move on to that one. And before long, we realize they're all gone. We are unknotted, we are untied, we are unraveled in the positive sense. So I hope that I haven't raveled your brains or unraveled you in the wrong way with this video, but I hope that you have opportunities today and the days to come to intentionally unravel the chaos of your life and allow yourself to figure out what's urgent and what's important. Hopefully you're at the top of that list. Have a great day. God bless, and I will see you tomorrow for Church at Home with Rachael.